Welcome, everybody, to the first ever lockbetting.com YouTube show. I am Cav Manning. I am from the Lingus Mafia podcast. All of my nonsense is at Lingus Mafia. I am joined by the man who created, the founder of lockbetting.com. First of all, this is Mr. Billy Body.
Yeah, found it 9 years ago, 9 years and 2 months. And 9 years and 2 months equals 110 months. And we have 110 months of profit. No losing months at all so far.
And our first guest is no stranger to gambling, and he is busy with lock betting for our SummerSlam show. This is the real disco, the Disco Inferno.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing, Glenn? You all right?
I'm doing good, yeah. So this is the first lot. So this is a YouTube show. It's a lockbetting.com, so it's not the K100 Informant. This is a completely different show, right?
Completely.
Yeah, this is our first ever. So Joe set me up a feed for lock betting because basically there's a lot of sports shows that I want to do. There's a lot more tennis, a lot more soccer leagues, more wrestling podcasts. I want to do betting on every pay-per-view. So yeah, we now have a feed for it.
Well, that's good because I've been lockbetting.com for a while, like over a year now, I believe. The service is incredible. It's completely transparent. Like you hear these, these guys on Twitter, they talk about like, I went 9-1, 17 games in a row, like all this, all this BS, and people like get the service will go online and say that this BS. This guy said he went like 6-1 last night. He went 4-3-4. But yours is very transparent because it goes on Patreon.com. So it's like it's no BS. If you want to go and track your record, every pick is posted, and your profits and losses spreadsheet at the end of each month is just pretty clear cut. I would even say is like there's you do a lot of soccer, a lot of the tennis has been excellent. The futures have been excellent in all the sports you've done. But I would just suggest if you don't, if you're dubious or if you have questions about, like, if you think that sounds ridiculous, just go look at the locks record of your lock plays. Like you'll do plays anywhere from like a 1 unit lock. It's like that's like a legit lot, right? That's like your lock.
And that's what the podcast is for, because now we're able to lock up more sports here by doing more content. We're able to build those free plays up, so people can go and sign up to the service. And one other thing which I think gets lost in a lot, the record is great, but criticism a lot of these other sites is the 5-star plays, the 10-unit maxes, the 20-unit whales, which to me always means 5 units means £500, 10 units means 1,000. 20-unit whales means that this guy is telling you to take £2,000 or $2,000 and bet it on what he says. There's none of that on my spreadsheet. There's rarely anything over a unit. If there is, it usually wins. The biggest play in history, it's been overtaken recently. We took Tottenham to finish above West Ham. But prior to that, it was Khabib, 4 units on Khabib to beat Conor McGregor, because I was certain. And these are very, very, very rare. Usually it's a half unit or 1 unit, which is £100 max. So yeah, that's something that's worth mentioning. If you see these gamblers on gambling Twitter and you're afraid and think that this record is somehow padded out by big chase bets, big 8 to 10 unit plays, that's not the case at all.
Well, let's do this just for the sake of for the audience. Is that let's call these plays like a 1 unit play is $100.
Right.
Because now the pound is I guess it's equal to the dollar.
Almost,
for the first time. Yeah, I think it's like for the first time ever. It's like the dollar and the buck are like or the pound and the dollar are pretty much the same now. So.
You're the same as the euro. We're just slightly stronger. We're at like 1.17. But through my Patreon, I'm paid in dollars, so I'm happy to see what's happened here. So I'm getting more money over here. Geez, your prices here have up like ridiculously, like for food and for toiletries and just generally to just do bits and pieces.
Where are you at right now? Where are you at?
I am in Nashville. Behind me, you can see records.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, you were in New York, right? You went to go see the Yankees in the Mets game, right?
I was in New York last night. Yeah.
Well, that's where you. Okay, all right. Well, that's New York prices and national prices are two completely different things. Like if you go to New York, you're paying. Things are expensive in New York. So I don't get swayed by like the prices here in the States compared to the UK, because like you get down south and things are cheaper than they are in New York. So
I think I spent $100 at a game yesterday on food for just me and a kid.
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like
I think it's every ballpark you're going to be doing that. Though.
$7 a hot dog. I had a cheesesteak, which was $19. 4 drinks. That was $7 each. I had these things called Assini balls that had Nutella in them. Assini, is that right?
What did you wear to the game?
I wore my Yankees hat and a Mike Tyson T-shirt.
Okay, the people at Met Stadium.
Yeah.
Were you verbally accosted by the fans?
No, it was a 60-40 crowd.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it looked half and half for the most.
Yeah, you go to Yankee. You can. Met Stadium is Citi Field is a little bit friendlier.
Yes.
Than the Bronx, because like people will tell you, if you wear foreign colors at Yankee Stadium, there's a 100% chance that you will get something thrown on you during the game, either be ice, cup, beer, food, anything. They just don't make a friendly environment for other fans.
It's in the Bronx, so
yeah,
it's not a friendly environment from the minute you walk into the area.
Right.
From the minute you park your car, it's not friendly. So.
What did you go see at the Garden?
Raw.
Oh, Raw. Oh, that's right. There was one Monday night. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so I've gone from there I went to Nashville. I came in to Nashville this morning. So I'll be here for SummerSlam. I'll be here for Flair's match. Hopefully getting some media credentials from K100, which they haven't sorted out still. And then I'll be leaving to go to Orlando on Monday night. So I'll be in Orlando then for 2.5 weeks.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my month in America, a whole month in America.
God bless you. Do we want to get into a couple matches and do some odds and see what Disco thinks of a couple here?
Yeah, we got the women's matches for Disco, because Disco talks a lot about the women on the K100 and the way that they're presented, and the general consensus when I do shows with Glenn is that he feels that these stars are presented much better. The women are genuine stars on this brand, and on AEW that's what they're lacking. So
that's bad. Last night was a highlight of that too, by the way. Did you watch AEW last night?
No, I
haven't. They brought this girl, because they keep calling the girls, and you watch the girls on Raw or SmackDown, the WWE programming, and you're given what looks like multi-million dollars worth of production into the presentation of your character. The music's good. You got a big stage. They're doing CGI. The girls are wearing, even if they're not wrestling, they're wearing what looks like, $5,000 worth of clothing on. I watch AEW, and like some of these girls, I call them the Kmart divas. This girl last night, what's her name, Sky Blue? I don't even know who this girl is. She came out and said,
looked like a fan came out. Yeah.
She was wearing a black T-shirt and cut off jean shorts. It looked like she spent $30 at Target for her outfit. I mean, that's what it looked like. I mean, no, am I right, Cav?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, Then you get girls like Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks when she was performing there. They just look like superstars, and they have the confidence of superstars and stuff. So I definitely think that there is a large gap in the level of talent and presentation of characters between WWE and AEW with the women's division. So
I feel Becky's clear of everybody. I feel as a character, as a performer, as on the mic, matches.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you. Okay, on the mic, she's as good as anybody in the business, male or female, right now. Okay, but for her work is good, but she's a thigh slapper. And I'm not a fan of the thigh slappers. I will criticize every thigh slapper in the business because, I think the thigh slapping is a characteristic of work these days.
Wait, are you saying she's a slapper?
She's a thigh slapper.
You know what a slapper means in?
No. What does that mean in the UK?
She's a whore. She's a slapper.
I was just going to say, I think it's a whore.
Right. No, but these days you look at the wrestling today. I went back and I watched last night at work. I went on a YouTube rabbit hole. I was just watching some old WCW stuff, like WCW Saturday nights, some nitros and stuff. Bro, the work is night and day compared to today and yesterday, in the yesteryear. Like when we were fighting in the ring and like throwing punches, everybody threw smoke. Like it looked like you were throwing a legitimate punch, like hard, like you were throwing it fast and stuff. Everything. These days they're simulating the noise, slapping their thighs, pretending that they're, it's too pretendish these days compared to the way it was. But Becky, when Becky throws punches or throws forms, she throws smoke. Like she'll clobber these girls when she's on offense, but I just can't stand it whenever everybody, any type of kicking motion they do, like a lot of these wrestlers, they have to slap their thigh.
And I tell you what's
any type of kick, whether you kick them in the stomach, the face, they got to slap their thigh, and I think it looks terrible. So,
and I tell you what will be interesting with obviously this Ric Flair's last match has a card under it, and it's obviously not a real promotion. It's kind of a thrown together card. Someone will be deciding the winners and losers or whatever, but these guys are going to get a lot of creative freedom to do what they want in their matches. I know somebody out there, Lance Storm? Or is Billy Gunn definitely put the criticism out there? Someone tweeted that.
No. Here's a tweet. Lance Storm tweeted, "Let nobody chop during the shows, okay? Because just save it for Flair, so Flair gets the woo whenever he chops." And then Billy goes, "Well, they can't do that because then they have to use their own stuff to get over."
Yeah.
It's like basically everybody has to imitate the Flair pop, where they do the chop.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're going to have a lot of creative freedom because nobody's going to tell them, really how they'll tell them how long they got and who's going over. But then, everything else I feel in that type of show will be done by themselves. So it'd be interesting to see what we see. I think I'm going to see a lot of like leg slapping and risks and things on that show. So yeah, I'll report back to you when I'm done with that.
Well, let's get into these two.
Yeah. So
what are the lines?
Bianca, Becky first. Bianca is a 1-4 minus 400 favorite, and Lynch is at 3-1, 3-1 plus 300 underdog here to win the match.
Wait, Bianca's a 4-1 favorite in that?
Yeah, minus 400. Yeah.
I'm asking you a question, because you're in the UK. You can I see these odds, but in the States we can't bet on wrestling. Okay, like I don't have any outs. Like there's not a lot of places you can bet on the match.
It's funny because the betonline.ag is an American company who set the odds that are copied by all the British bookmakers, and then the British bookmakers alternate their lines based on the intake of money.
Right.
So the original line is done by BetOnline.
What was the original line in this?
We're still at very much the original lines. Nothing has moved yet significantly as we record this on Thursday. Usually doesn't. Usually starts moving tomorrow or Saturday.
Well, I'm sure that they get leaks. Like sometimes these lines will move. I guess coming near showtime when
coming near. But
right.
Nobody from the WWE, give or take one or two people, is in Nashville right now. I swung by the hotel on my way in, and nobody's in yet. So
okay. Well, I would say this for this match, I would take just from being a guy's been in booking rooms and bet on writing committees and stuff. Everything. I would bet on Becky on the plus 300 here because I don't know what you do with her if she like she's had this journey where she's lost the belt and she's like every gimmick she's done on TV is to get the belt back. It's like if she doesn't get the belt back, it's like what do you do? Rinse and repeat the exact same angle she's been doing but before leading into this match. I just from a booking standpoint, she's too strong on the mic to not be the featured act in this division, and the featured act should have the belt. So, and I'm a fan of. I know you're not as much of a fan of Bianca as I am. I like Bianca because I think she cuts a pretty good promo. I'm not a fan of the hair thing, swinging that thing around like a whip. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but from a marketing standpoint, I can see. But bro, as a representative of like women's wrestling, she is so athletic that like I think one of the problems they have with her is that she's only got a limited amount of girls on that roster that she can work against because she's so athletic that when she's wrestling some of these other not girls that aren't as athletic as she is, it doesn't look believable. Like it looks like she would just like break these girls in half with her bare hands because, you know, she's strong, she's fast, she's acrobatic, she can do everything. You know, she's a legitimate competitive athlete. And a lot of these other girls, they're slower, they look like they're cosplaying the moves and different things. So, but you know, so with her with the belt, it's kind of a limited amount of people that she can work against, especially with Charlotte being out, right? But I would just say I'd bet on Becky because if I'm booking that show, I'm like I want Becky with the belt with that mic in her hand as a regular on TV, as basically the representative of the women's division. So I would bet Becky Lynch in that match. What about you guys?
Do you think it's possible that that Bayley shows up to cause a win or a loss some way somehow? Because this is where they ended last year.
Well, what's the injury? Do we have any clue of the injury status? Because if she's still out, no. But if there's any word that she's been cleared but she hasn't gotten back to TV yet, I would say yes, it is a possibility.
Yeah, she's been cleared for a couple of months.
Oh, has she really?
Yeah, she's been cleared. They're just waiting for a way to bring her in. So
I could see her screwing Becky over then.
Screwing Becky, not Bianca, or she goes after Bianca, which screws her. She goes in there and cuts that fucking hair off. That's what I've been waiting for forever.
What's her? Who was her last? The history of her character. Who was the last person she was with?
It was Bianca. That was that whole. They were going into SummerSlam, and it looked like it was going to be hair versus title. That's what I thought it was going to be because it was always with the hair, always with the hair. And I said they're going to do that sensational Sherry thing and chop that braid off so Bianca could be free of it and actually help her out by having it gone. But have that happen, and then I thought they were going to buzz Bayley's head. I thought that's how it would end up, but they would get rid of that ponytail. So if she's out, I could really see Bayley come in and have that shock moment where she chops that ponytail off, and then they can go from there. But I don't know if that's with title or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I see it differently. I do think there's value on Becky as well, but only for this reason. I do feel Bianca emerges from the feud with the title. I then feel that Becky will move on to Ronda at WrestleMania time because you need to get to that feud. So Ronda ultimately gets the belt back off Liv, and Becky moves on to Ronda. But you can do a title change in between. Ultimately, my theory is that you have to do this match again in England. Oh, in Wales, sorry. This is a match ready to be done again at the Clash of the Castle. Becky's British. She absolutely has to be on that show. She could carry the belt in as the champion, and she could lose it to Becky, which sets her off even more in that path where she's, demoralized and going crazy because they're doing a crazy Becky thing. They're doing the whole she lost everything and she's going to rebound kind of thing. So I don't think by losing this match, she's kind of lost enough. And I feel that it'll be very difficult to give her a rematch if she loses and to get her back on television. You could do a non-finish or something like that, which I think would be disappointing given the fact that they had a clean finish at Mania, and then you're going into non-finishes here at the next pay-per-view. So yeah, I think it's a good price on Becky here as an underdog. With me feeling that you see this again next month in England. 100%. Both girls are on that card, and I just don't see them enough time for them to be against other people that are credible enough to face them. That's just what I'm seeing.
All right. I'm not going to argue that, but I would still think for the value here, I would bet Becky.
No, I agree. That's why I just said. I said I think that Becky has value here because you've got to keep it going. I don't think you can create new opponents for these two to get them on the UK show. They're both going to be there. I feel it's much more simplistic for them to have a gimmick match against each other to end the feud in another stadium show. You can't put Becky versus Asuka or Rhea Ripley versus Bianca in a stadium show and get it heated up enough in 5 weeks. I don't think you can.
So Billy, you mentioned the Liv and Ronda match, and we'll get to that next here. You had a question. We were talking about this earlier. You said you were going to ask Disco about this, about the whole. Do you agree with the underdog push that Liv is constantly like she's not worthy of this title, right, Billy?
Well, yeah, actually, this was because Conan's not been feeling well, so I was saving this question for Conan because obviously he's friends with Rey Mysterio, and when Mysterio won the belt, he was losing to everybody in non-title matches. He was booked as a complete fluke, and I wanted to sort of ask what he thought about that at the time. But obviously, you know all these guys. You're friends with Rey and Conan, so I ask you the same question: like, do you feel that when somebody is booked as such a blatant underdog, that it's inevitable that they'll lose the belt, whether they're cheered, whether their merchandise sales are great? What's interesting here is Ronda is a massive underdog for this match. Liv Morgan,
is she really?
Yeah,
what's the line on this?
Liv Morgan is 2-5.
Are you serious?
Your odds is -220, I believe, and Ronda is +160 here. So 8-5.
So that would lead me to believe that they have plans here then for somebody to screw Ronda, because they're still, for some inexplicable reason, booking Ronda as a baby face still. And her shtick is absolutely, there's not a lot of likability in her character. I mean, she comes out, she doesn't dress glamorously. She's got the leather on and that weird makeup. Her promos.
Any chance?
It's like she doesn't care.
Any chance we get like a fluke roll up out of an ankle lock and it's a 3 and Ronda just beats her up. Ronda beats the shit out of her afterwards because she pinned her.
And fake the handshake and then kill her.
Yeah,
maybe because the WWE is very good with storytelling like that, where they talk about the handshake. You know, they've been selling. I'm going to shake your hand after the match. So you're right. She could lose, turn on the handshake. You know, like shake her hand and beat her up afterward, which I would also support. But you know, from a work standpoint, I've just got a very difficult time, like believing that Liv Morgan is going to beat Ronda Rousey in a combat sports event, which is what they're selling professional wrestling as. Mm-hmm. You know, because she does like for all the women they have on that roster. Let's pretend that Charlotte, you know, wasn't off getting married and or hurt or whatever was wrong with her. Let's assume Charlotte was part of the roster still. Liv would be like my 7th or 8th choice to be the champion, like from a credibility standpoint. You know, you got Becky, Charlotte, Asuka, Bianca. Rhea Ripley is very credible. I think that Lacey Evans is coming across as a very credible.
But do you think do you think there's a point that do you think anybody can ever recover from or turn around the booking of saying this is a huge upset? Wow, how did this person win? It's crazy. How is she the champion? Like, do you think anyone
like she's a pile of shit?
Which makes me believe that she's going to lose.
Right.
You know, so it's like I'm surprised that she's favored in the match, which leads me to believe that they have something cooked up here to somebody to screw Ronda over. You know, which I don't. I mean, which doesn't really work for me because it continues Ronda as a babyface. You know, I think Ronda should be a heel. I could see Ronda maybe doing something where she gets DQ'd in this match. Maybe that's why she's a 2-5 favorite, that she loses by disqualification because she snaps and turns heel and does something, you know, whatever. But like, I'm just not, you know, I like Liv. I think she's hot. I think the fans like her. I think her promos kept short are pretty good. Their long form promos have not been that good, but she has to go out there and talk for 10 minutes. You know, after about a couple minutes, she kind of like.
You muted yourself.
You muted yourself.
There you go.
As a character, it's like, you know, if she loses, it's like, you know, like in college basketball where maybe a fluke team is like gotten to number 1. But all they do is lose one game and they drop down to 7 or 8. You know, so because like people aren't buying them because like it's like if she loses this, I don't know what they do with her. You know, Alexa Bliss is running her mouth talking about getting back in the mix and be the champion and stuff and things. So it's like, I don't know. It's like you could I don't know. I would, based on the line, I would say that Liv is going to win by disqualification. She's not, and
one thing I'll say about the line,
I'm not buying her. But she beat Ronda because Ronda's knee was hurt, and she cashed in after a match. So there's no way, like from the booking standpoint, you were going to think, okay, she's got any chance beating her straight up, because you really wouldn't book it that way. You're selling it.
One thing I say about the line, though, just to put that out there, is that Dave Meltzer is Teflon to Bet Online and to Unibet, who also tailed us in the UK. They're the first line makers, and when he puts out some information like a prediction or whatever, they move the line out to go along with it.
Based on his prediction?
Yeah, dude, you can bet on Meltzer's star ratings. Like, is Dave going to get it over 4.5 or under 4.5?
Are you kidding me?
No, it's been you've been able to do that I'll send you it when it comes out nearer the time. But you can also bet on things in Brock matches, like how many suplexes and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into them knowing anything from WWE or by way of a finish. Someone at Bet Online, whoever the odds maker is there, who's obviously a dirt sheet guy or is in tune with the dirt sheets, looks at everything, and he's made a decision by himself that Liv Morgan, the way she's being booked, is not going to be a 1 month champion. That's one guy who thinks that and has made this line, which has gone worldwide. So I do think Ronda's a live dog, especially when you're looking at the new people who are booking the show, and maybe what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
My thought about this match is that Liv gets a roll up some way, somehow, and this handshake turns into Ronda beating the hell out of her. I can't see any other way that how this ends.
Yeah, and the thing with that is that, again, same reason as Bianca and Becky. You got to get this match to England again. Both people are on the card there. I don't feel that it's ready to end. They've not had a real match in this current WWE climate. They haven't got enough people. They haven't got enough stars for new challenges to come in and out. If Ronda loses here, she's not going to go to the back of the line. She's not going to start fighting girls in the mid card to work her way back up to another title shot. She's going to get rematch after rematch till she wins. So yeah, essentially, I see a continuation at Clash of the Castle of both these matches that we've discussed, whether we have new champions or not. So, but I think that a good strategy could be to take both underdogs here, and I feel you might end up winning one of them.
Yeah, especially at those prices.
Yeah,
that's pretty live way to bet it. You know, or if you're gonna just if you're gonna just assume that these lines are way out of whack because they know what the finish is going to be already, a parlay with the two favorites would that what I would do. I would either bet both dogs or parlay with the favorites would be the way to play this.
They definitely don't know what the finishes are going to be. They definitely don't. No.
Interesting.
All right, Disco, where can we find you? Where's the best place to listen to everything you do?
At The Real Disco on Twitter, pretty much. And Keeping It 100 with Conan's our podcast. It's on all the platforms, on Spreaker, on Spotify. Check it out. Billy comes on our show and does his like 10 minutes of wrestling talk, and we usually spend about 20 minutes, more than that on a.
I've never got off in 10 minutes of my life.
No, he does 10 minutes of wrestling.
Depends what the
I try to keep it at 10 minutes of wrestling because I like to talk to sports with Billy. So it's like he's our kind of like our wrestling correspondent, our insider, and also our sports the guy we like to talk sports with. So I would check it out. It's a good podcast. We also have a YouTube page, Keep It 100 with Conan. If you want to see what our show is all about, we post clips from the shows on there. And if you want to join our Patreon, it's at conan.me, KONAN.me, and literally almost everything we record that doesn't go up on YouTube and doesn't go up on Spreaker and Spotify or Free Show, we usually drop it on Patreon. So,
all right. Thank you for joining us, Glenn.
All right, peace, guys.
Okay, moving on to another match on the card, Billy. We are going to talk about the Mysterios versus Finn and Priest, or as I like to call them on my show, Priest and Boy. this has been going on for a while. Do you expect some nonsense to go down? Because everyone has been expecting Dominic to be the one, like he's going to turn because he needs something going on, obviously, right? Something's going on. But do you think there is a chance that this flips and it's Mysterio turning on his son? And so then Dom could eventually beat his father, and that's something for their family to be like, oh, this happened in our lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, the betting lines here for this one are Judgment Day at 4-7 and the Mysterios at 5-4. So European odds, Judgment Day 1.57 and the Mysterios 2.25. So plus 125 US odds. So yeah, I don't think, just looking at this as a match, I don't think the Mysterios are going to win 2 in a row. I feel that Monday was even a surprise because you've got to be keeping his Judgment Day strong for Edge, because his revenge has to be aimed at these guys. Mysterio and those guys got the win because for some reason they felt like they didn't need to bring Edge back at Madison Square Garden. They felt like Rey Mysterio Day, or Rey Mysterio could have his day and have a win, and they were respectful to Rey and whatnot. But here I feel like that Judgment Day lose. And I think Judgment Day get their win back, sorry. And I feel that we won't see any turn from anybody. I just feel that this will just be a good, solid 12, 15-minute match on the card. And when Dominic does turn and whatnot, you can save it for a bit. I think that what you're more likely to see is after the Judgment Day have won, with the help of Ripley and whatever, that they'll then look to concerto these guys in the ring and injure them badly and unmask Rey or whatever. And then Edge comes out and stops it. So, yeah, I think whatever they were going to do with Edge on Monday will be on the pay-per-view. And they've just made it a little bit longer by giving Rey the win on his 20th anniversary. Or, WWE, it's 20 years. It's not an anniversary. They when it is that real anniversary, they get it wrong. And when they always get it wrong.
They're off by a year every time.
Yeah, they always think a birthday is an anniversary. Yeah, that's right. The 25th anniversary of WrestleMania was the 25th WrestleMania. The anniversary is the year after. So it doesn't matter. Maybe with Vince gone, we might start getting the right terminology being used by people. But these Vinceisms may go. And that's one of the things I'm interested to see, really, as we move forward. Like, will there be any more? It's not a bell. It's not a bell. It's not an ambulance. It's a medical facility. And yeah, all this kind of shit.
That will be interesting if we see any of that kind of stuff. There is a match
What do you think here? Sorry, you didn't have a take.
Todd, I like what you said. I mean, I'm really thinking they would be doing some different things here, but I think you're right when it comes to, well, you need the Judgment Day to win because you need Edge to be fighting for something. If you keep losing, what's the difference? I know they went away from that story, though.
The Mysterios can fail to beat the Usos. They can fail to win the tag titles, and then they can break up over it. Like they can go a different direction for a few months and then break up.
Because they went away from that story where Dominic was getting all pissy every match he lost because his dad was there, and they completely just forgot about it.
Yeah.
So maybe this goes back to it where he's a little pissy and we can start up again. I don't know. But yeah, I would have to say you're right with they need to gear up before Edge to be coming back. Let's go on to a match that's going to be actually a very, very good match. And apparently the Street Profits get a title match. Every pay-per-view they'll have a title match. Doesn't matter if they lose or how they lose, or now it's because his shoulder was up. So there's at least a little reason why they're getting another rematch. Because I'm like, how many times do you have to lose before you're at the back of the line? But it's Usos versus the Street Profits. What are the odds for that?
Surprisingly, I mean, Usos are favorites, but they're only 2-5. I would lay those odds all day long, which is a $40 profit for a $100 bet. So 140 back from 100. And then the Street Profits here, they are available at 8-5. So $50 to win 80, 130 back. Obviously, you're getting a lot more back, but I'm comfortable taking 100 to make a $40 profit here. They're not losing the belts here. I'm just interested to see the utilization of Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, I agree with you with Usos winning this, with everybody keeping titles and stuff like that, with that bloodline. I am interested. The whole point of even having Jeff Jarrett there is weird to me, other than, of course, this is because it's in Nashville. Other than that, why? What does he have to do with anything? And then he's like, he's a Bill Alfonso right down the middle, Daddy. I'm going to call this match, which he's a bad guy. So does he screw the Street Profits, and that's how this one's lost too? Like, why is he the referee other than, like I said, they're in Nashville?
I think what happened is that he wrote a letter to the WWE saying that, hey, I'm going to be in a tag match the next day. I haven't done much tag team wrestling. I'd like to be right in there, gaining as much experience as I can from the two best teams. So it benefits you. Need a ref. I need a refresher course
lesson
wrestling. And I think that's how it went on behind the scenes.
Pull out a notepad in the middle of the match. Start writing down. Oh, what was that move? What do we got? Start doing that. Okay. Anything else on that before we move on?
No, we'll move on. We'll bring a guest in at this point.
Okay. We are going to bring a guest in, and then we are going to give our predictions and the odds about this afterwards. Now moving on to Logan Paul versus The Miz. Dealing with celebrities, we brought in somebody who has dealt with celebrities over and over again, and it'd be good to get his opinion on it. That is Hall of Famer, Mr. Eric Bischoff.
I'm back. Oh, wait a minute. I won't do that to anybody. I will not sing. I will not inflict that torture on souls known or unknown.
Depends how good you are at it, though. So we'll have to find out. So we're talking about dealing with the celebrity factor coming into the wrestling world, and you dealt with quite a few of them. Billy was going over some things earlier. You want to take it, Billy, about what you were talking about with how rough it might be to deal with celebrities or how easy it might be?
Yeah, I mean, I have one main question. Now, I don't want to turn this into, I don't want to set you up for the quote of the week, any AEW bashing or anything like that, because I know that's very clickbaity. But I just want you to explain to me the difference, what you get when you invest. So AEW spending, say, $5 million on a CM Punk and $3 million on a Daniel Bryan, and they're getting a full-time performer. What do you get when you invest a $3 million into a Logan Paul instead? What's the mindset in that, and what you're getting from that investment instead?
Well, I think with Logan Paul, is that the number? Has that been confirmed, or is that speculation, or is it $3 million for Logan Paul?
That's just what I've heard. Yeah, it's very part-time for $3 million. Yeah.
Okay. But this is important, because is the $3 million for one event, or is it $3 million over the course of several events?
No, he's been getting around $1 million to come in and do one shots, but this is now the contract that he has per year. So it's $3 million per year. We don't know at this point how much he's going to do. I imagine SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, 100%. So.
All right, so he's going to be making multiple appearances for $3 million, correct, over the course of a year. Is that the scope?
That's
so.
Right,
Here's
yeah.
what you get for $3 million,
and that's
I don't know how many.
That's not from Meltzer, so that's from someone more reliable than him.
All right, whatever it is, as long as we acknowledge that we don't know what the number is, and it's speculation at this point.
Okay.
So if it's $3 million. Here's what you get. You get a known social media influencer with a tremendous amount of influence, with I don't know how big his following is. Maybe you guys do, or somebody could Google it, or the listeners can.
He has the #1 podcast in the world.
Logan Paul has the #1 podcast in the world?
That's right, at this moment. It's forever changing, but as we're recording, he has the #1 podcast in the world.
So he's more popular than Joe Rogan?
At the moment, yeah. Like for this week's chart, yeah.
All right, so let's just assume that's true. I think that's some spooky shit you got going on right there, brother. I would not put any confidence in that whatsoever. But let's just say it's true, perhaps. He's got a very highly rated, if not the number one podcast in the world. Sorry, Joe. I'm not buying it either, brother.
This week he has. Yeah. So
all right, let it go. Let it go, Bill. Let it go. Just let it go. We're moving on. Can't stop talking. You're worse than me. I didn't think it was possible. Anyway, you're getting a highly rated podcast. We've established that. You're getting a guy that has a tremendous amount of social media influence outside of his podcast. Don't know his following. I imagine it's massive. I'll be looking it up when we're done. And you're getting a very charismatic guy. He's a great performer. We've seen him, right? It's not like we don't know what we're going to get with this dude. He's committed. And I think he's a great personality. He's a great wrestling character. Are you going to get 5-star matches? I don't even know what that means anymore. I've seen some ridiculous shit on television that's been getting some really rave reviews lately. But it doesn't matter, man. It's all entertainment. And he's bringing a loyal following, a big loyal following, into a universe that is probably new, meaning he's bringing some new viewers along with him. And he's entertaining to the existing viewers. So I think it's a great investment. And that's overall the way I've always looked at celebrities is what does it do for you? What did Dennis Rodman do for WCW? Dennis Rodman got us more buzz on morning drive, rock, talk, sports around the country in every major market and most little markets that we couldn't have afforded to buy. But that's all anybody talked about. It's Dennis Rodman and WCW and Hulk Hogan. Couldn't have bought that. And he was entertaining. He delivered. He was a personality. He was a character. And he performed well enough, more than well enough, to not do any damage. You know, Kevin Green, Carolina Panthers, same thing. Steve McMichael brought Steve McMichael, thoughts, prayers, and just nothing but respect for the toughest son of a bitch that ever walked the face of the earth, in my opinion. What he's going through, and he's doing it with a smile every day. Hats off, brother. Much respect. But Steve McMichael, same way. You could criticize some of his work at the rink, and some of it was a little sketchy because he was put in situations he shouldn't have been. But he also had some fantastic matches. But beyond that, he brought credibility. He was a Super Bowl champion, Chicago Bears, and he had a great character. Karl Malone, same thing. You know, it just you get a lot, and what you really get is crossover. New audience that maybe not wouldn't otherwise check you out, and you get a tremendous amount of free press.
I got one, Billy, here for you. Did you get a lot of backlash from any of the wrestlers? Like, was there a lot of it, or just a smattering of, hey, I'm here all the time. What is this? He's getting paid this.
I never got any of that. I never got any of that. Okay. I read that it was happening, but it wasn't. That's a perception that it might be happening, but it wasn't because the talent knew. You know, wrestlers are smart suckers, man. They know what it takes to get attention. They know what it takes to get buzz and to get people talking about you. They might not have liked it necessarily, but they were glad to be on the card with him. They were happy to mug for a photo shot with him, and hopefully will end up in the paper. No, they got it. And nobody really complained. Everybody was, at least that I could see, was very supportive.
From the way you're speaking, there doesn't seem to be too much of a gamble element to it. I expected to be.
Oh, there can be. David Arquette.
Is there
There's the other side of the coin.
Well, before we talk about the in-ring, the promos, and the creative side of things, where I would think more could go wrong. When you look at the investment side of things, is there a minimum bar that you set? For example, we want X number of viewers from this. We want X amount of publicity from this. Is there ever a minimum that you set with any signing?
No, man, you got to look with Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone. And again, remember, NBA finals were going on at the time, and there was a lot of buzz and chatter anyway. You just, there's no way to quantify the dollar value. There's no way to put a valuation on the amount of advertising that you're going to get because you're fucking guessing. You're going by instinct. And, now if you're hoping that you're going to get a ton of press from a, mid-level, professional athlete that isn't really normally in the paper and isn't very controversial and isn't very well known, but he's on the roster. It's legitimately a NFL player, NBA player, but nobody really knows him. Now, if you're betting big money on that, you've got a bad instinct. But with the Malones and the Rodmans and the Kevin Greens and Reggie White and known commodities like we've used, there was no way to try to quantify it. You just went with your gut.
Is Jay Leno probably the best investment that you did for this because of the platform that he had, being able to be on every night, and you could possibly, hey, maybe we could do something tonight on the Tonight Show that pushes this, and it's big time advertisement on a larger scale.
See, and that's the other thing that I'm glad you brought that up. Jay Leno was a whole different strategy. Look, Jay Leno, I knew the wrestling audience was going to gag on their toenails on that one. I just knew people would be turning themselves inside out with Jay Leno, wrestling fans. But here's what I also knew. I knew every advertiser in the industry on Park Avenue, the people that really matter when it comes to the television business, because without them, there would be no audience. They would look at it way differently than a wrestling fan would, right? And you have to cater to both. You have to serve 2 or 3 different masters if you want to actually grow your business and build a business and not a, super indie trust fund wrestling show. If you want to build, you have to build it out in different ways. And being able to creatively use the Tonight Show the way we did to shoot an angle that led to a match over the course of weeks, and that access to the Tonight Show, advertisers look at that a lot different than wrestling fans do. Trust me, and dirt sheet writers. It was a very valuable strategy, but no way to quantify it. I was betting on the future. I was betting on sitting in a meeting, making a presentation to, let's say, GTX Motor Oil, for example, and being able to show them clips of WCW as a mainstream entertainment property. And I don't know, having your Hulk Hogan and myself and taking over the Tonight Show and showing advertisers that didn't really know anything about wrestling, that no, this is a lot more than just wrestling. Mm-hmm. No, this is mainstream entertainment here. And here's an example that has a lot of value from a sales position.
So, in terms of when you say you couldn't quantify it, do you think that modern day metrics would assist you, or do you not buy into those? So when you're looking at social media retweets, YouTube views, if you're a promoter right now, say there's Vince, there's Tony Khan, and Eric Bischoff has a third company, and you bring in a Logan Paul or you bring in somebody in this day and age, and you have a YouTube video that has 7 million views and 1 million retweets. Is that something that you would be celebrating? Is that a metric where you can weigh it up, or do you not really believe in these modern day metrics that these promoters are celebrating?
Oh no, it's not that I wouldn't believe in it. I would recognize it. I would be grateful for it. 7 million views, assuming I'm monetizing my YouTube channel, cha-ching, 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 just add it to the pot, right? It's reaching an audience. Some of those 7 million YouTube views may not be people that generally watch my show every week. That's added value. There's value in that. How to put a valuation on it? If I'm bringing in somebody for $1 million for one appearance, do I say, well, that YouTube exposure is worth, I don't know, $100,000, 50, 10, 2, 1, I don't know. I'm sure there's a formula to figure that out, because again, you could monetize part of that, right? So you can assign a percentage of that $3 million you'd recoup from that YouTube monetization. And then you have to kind of, guesstimate, what percentage of those 7 million people are going to perhaps buy your pay-per-view that might not have otherwise bought it. And you got to add that to the pot. But what you're really doing too is you're branding. And in that particular case, just like I did with Jay Leno, if I'm WWE or if I'm, AEW, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Advertiser, Mr. Sponsor, Mr. Building Management Board, here's how popular, you're negotiating, right? You're either selling something or selling yourself. I'm taking that information and I'm putting it in front of the people that I do business with to establish, the mainstream nature of what we're doing and the reach of what we're doing. So it absolutely has value. I just wouldn't know how to put a valuation on it.
We're going to move on to your book in a second, but I have one final question to move off the subject. I listen to a lot of other people's podcasts, unfortunately, and there is there's a type of podcast out there, and they're all making the same kind of comments. When you bring in a Logan Paul or a Pat McAfee or whoever, there's always these comments saying, "Oh, they're getting paid X, Y, and Z," and you could have kept carrying cross for this merch. You could have. How could they fire Keith Lee when he was earning like 1/10 of what they're paying this guy? This is always the comment. They fired a lot of people, and now they're using the money for these purposes, and it receives a lot of criticism. What would you say to these people where they're criticizing that WWE are investing their money here after releasing so many people?
What would I say?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I knew it was coming. I expected fuck him. But is it more of, put asses in seats and those wrestlers would have stayed?
It's a business. Damn it. It's like you're wrestling. Oh, man, they spent all that money over here and they could have held on to that guy. Who cares? If that guy was making money, if it was a business, it is a business. And if that individual, guy or gal, was moving the needle, then guess what?
Do you ever look at anybody do you ever look at anybody in WWE? Have you seen anybody that has been released and you think, there might have been something there? Is there anybody that you've ever?
No, I don't watch
Bray
it.
Wyatt. That's about it.
But here's the thing, guys. You don't know what was going on behind the scenes. None of us do, right? Unless you were there. It may not. Who knows why that decision was made? I've let go of people that everybody thought I let go of them for one reason or maybe another. And the real reason I let them go had nothing to do with that. And unless you have all of the information and the knowledge and or experience, look it up. You're ignorant. Google ignorant, and the definition is lack of information or experience. That's what ignorance, that's the definition of it. And when someone gets let go, you don't really know what led up to that. You can say, wow, it was budget cuts, but because guess what? That's a nice way when you work for somebody. If you get let go, and you get let go because of budget cuts, not because, what are they supposed to say? Guy or girl just didn't draw, wasn't worth it, didn't learn fast enough, has no charisma, couldn't cut a promo to save their life. Is that what you want them to say? Mm-hmm. Or do they evaluate talent and say, okay, we get to have so many people with this budget. Let's thin the herd and keep the people that we think have the most potential and let the rest go because we have to manage our budget. So those people, therefore, are let go for budget cuts. But the truth is they're let go for other reasons. You and I and the dirt sheet universe and the people that write that crap have no idea what was really going on behind the scenes.
One question before we get to your book that I have for you. It's not that relevant to this exactly, but it's a question I've had for you for a while. When it comes to being creative, I think a lot of people, including myself, think you're a very creative mind in what you've done throughout the year. When I've done things, a YouTube channel or writing bits and everything, I get my ideas while either long drive, long walk, or in the shower. Where do your ideas come from? Is there a specific thing that you usually do and they flood into you, or anything out of the ordinary?
I've had my best. It's funny because I'm preparing for Starrcast next week, and I'm roasting Ric Flair, so I've got to get up on the stage and try to be funny. And I'm not a funny guy by nature. I'm not. I know I'm not. So but I have to come up with my 8 to 12 minutes or whatever it is. And I had to get on a treadmill because that part of my brain doesn't really kick in unless I kind of elevate my energy a little bit. And I have to do it naturally. I can't
sit down,
snort an 8-ball and drink a half a pot of coffee and try to think of funny shit. That doesn't work. You know what I mean? I've got to get my endorphins going is really what I got to do. So I haven't been on a treadmill in about 3 years. But this morning, knowing I had to sit down and write for a couple hours, first thing I did is got on the treadmill for 45 minutes and gassed myself out. took a cold shower, and sat down, and it just started to flow. I could see it in my head. And even going back to WCW, some of the best ideas that I've had, really, I came up with on a treadmill. That's my go-to. It doesn't look like it, which means I probably haven't had a good idea in about 7 years from the looks of things.
That's good, though. That's good. Finding out. That's interesting. There's a treadmill. So you have a book coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the book is called Grateful. I co-wrote it with Guy Evans, who wrote the Nitro book, The Incredible Rise and the Inevitable Fall of Ted Turner's WCW Nitro. Fantastic book. And that's how I met Guy. And Guy came to me around a year ago or so and said, hey, you ever think about writing another book? I said, no. What would I write about? And he said, how about the last 15 years of your life and everything that, you've kind of been through? And Guy follows me. We became fairly good friends, and he follows me on social media, and he listens to my podcast, and he noticed that I often talk about being grateful. I have it tattooed on my wrist right there, right there.
There you go.
And I've had it for about 15 years or 10. So, but over the years, especially the last 6 or 7, certain things have happened in my life, good and bad, that have really, really changed the way I look at my entire career. And Grateful is really about those stories that are not, they're kind of wrestling related, but they're not. They're about people that I've met and stories that I've heard, and how I've realized that what we all do, or what we all did in my case, really affects people. And sometimes in a very, very positive way that you could never imagine. The book starts out telling a story about a young lady that I met at a Comic-Con. And I heard her story. And you read about it in the book, but it was a very, very, for me, life-changing moment. And then all of a sudden that kind of opened my eyes. And I started looking when I'd go to personal appearances. I talk about an indie show that I went to in New Mexico because I hated going to shows like that. I never used to do personal appearances. I hated doing autograph sessions, but I was bouncing off the bottom, man, financially. I've had a tough couple of years. I bounced out, man. 7-figure income. I'm in good shape. Beautiful home, beautiful wife. Life's good. I had to reinvent myself and bounce back. But over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years, man, I've been bouncing off the bottom. And every time I'd go to one of these indie shows, because I had to, it was like, ugh. And I went to an indie show in New Mexico, and something happened, and I talk about it in the book, that made me go, you're such a dick. You don't appreciate what you should be appreciating. And then it's just, once I started thinking about, okay, I got to be a little more aware and grateful of certain things, and because I'm looking at shit wrong, it changed everything for me. Not only with regard to doing those events and how I felt about them, but I just started realizing, oh man, I'm making my comeback. I'm 66, 64, 65 years old over the course of this period. When most people my age are retiring, right, hanging out with the grandkids and playing golf, driving around a little fucking putt golf cart, I'm scraping, trying to hang on to my shit. I'm filing Chapter 11. Business bankruptcy, not personal bankruptcy. It didn't write the debts off. I had to pay those fuckers. And I paid them off. I had 6 years to pay them off, and I got out of it in 3. I paid every nickel of it and came out of it. But the reason I was able to do that is because I started becoming grateful for some of the things that I saw around me and being more aware of it. And that's what the book's about. It's not like I'm not trying to be Tony Robbins. I'm not. I'm still fuck up in many ways. But it's a valuable lesson, and it kind of changed my life. And Guy knew it, and that's what he wanted to write about. We still talk about wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling stuff in there. I go into a lot more detail on things than I do in the podcast because I don't feel the pressure of having to entertain people for 2 hours and 15 minutes. But yeah, it was a fun journey, and I'm excited about it. We got some cool things. Like, this has never been done before, to my knowledge. And I'm probably blowing this for myself in a way. I should keep my mouth shut, but I can't. It's just the way I am. I told you guys I couldn't do 10 minutes. I told you. But this is the first time that I'm aware of, but when our book comes out on November 11th, 11/11/22, Grateful will come out. At the end of every chapter, there's going to be a QR code. And that QR code is going to take you to an exclusive interview that you cannot see anywhere else of the subject of that particular chapter. In some cases, there may be 2 or 3. It's never been done before. So you get the book, you're going to get an amazing story. Hopefully you're going to come away thinking, maybe I could try that. Maybe that'll turn some shit around for me. Maybe. Worth a try. What the hell? But you're going to get exclusive interviews that you cannot get anywhere else. And I don't think that's ever been. It'll be a collector's item because it'll be the first one of its kind. And if you order at bischoffbook.com, it'll be autographed by myself and Guy Evans. So pre-order!
I tell you what sounds most appealing about it, especially to sort of a modern day audience, where I think you would all agree that attention spans are kind of dwindling. People can't seem to get off their phones or be distracted by TikTok or whatever. This seems like a book where it's not necessarily important to be chronological. Where sometimes you start a book, or a lot of books, especially autobiographies, are always chronological, and if you leave it, you can't go back to it, or if you leave it for too long. And we have to make a commitment to it. This doesn't seem like a commitment. This seems like I can go on a 2-hour flight. I can read a couple of chapters. They're going to be one thing's going to be about a different thing. Another thing's going to be about a different thing. And you can pick it up and put it down. There's no pressure to chronologically finish the book and know the whole story. It seems like a lot of short stories that you can read, you can pick up and put down, which is, I think, more appealing.
Yeah, I think yes, that will be an advantage because each chapter will really be its own story in a way. It will be somewhat chronological because we want to pick up where Controversy Creates Cash left off, my first book. But at the same time, if you decide to skip chapters and bounce back and forth, each chapter will be its own. It'll be my lesson. It'll be the thing that I learned. Whether anybody else does from it or not, I don't know. And that's not why I wrote it. Again, I'm not trying to be, Tony Robbins, but it was my journey. And I think it was a fun one, and one I'm grateful for, obviously. Like I said, been able to bounce back, and yep, I'm good. But it was a hell of a ride, mentally.
Very innovative, just like you were in history of wrestling with the QR code now in there. That's impressive. I was like, that's a great idea. Never even heard of that before.
That's because it's never been done before, and I'm going to be really honest here. It wasn't my idea. As much as I'd like to be that smart guy, because I am pretty fucking bright, but I didn't think of it. A friend of mine who's also an author and is currently working on a book called The Six Pack, Brad Blajukian, and he wrote a book previously called Wax Pack that did very, very well. And it was a story about his journey finding 12 baseball players in the deck of a pack of baseball cards and their story, and it's a pretty fascinating idea. And he's doing the same thing right now with a book called The Six Pack about 6 individuals who are part of WrestleMania 3 and 4 and that story was then and where their lives are now. It was actually his idea, and I asked permission to be the first person to use it. So I got to give credit where credit is due, man. I don't steal people's thunder.
Well, let me give you some credit, actually. You just said that, I've never said this before, but you just said that this isn't a Tony Robbins book. But actually, when you wouldn't think Controversy Creates Cash is either, but I remember not necessarily parts of the book, but the title of the book and the fact that I believe that to be true. When I went on to Big Brother in 2007, I looked around at the other contestants and realized I wasn't going to be the winner. I didn't have a sob story or anything like that. My parents had money. I was modeling at the time. There were a lot of victims who had really good sob stories in there. They were the winners. So how was I going to make my money from this show? Controversy. Controversy creates cash. I was able to work for 10 years. I've made more money than everybody I lived with in Big Brother because I continue to believe that creed. So whereas I didn't do anything specific like give away the Raw results or anything like that, I remember thinking that in my head the entire time for those 10 years where I continued to make money by just doing controversial shit, just like, brushing off any of the criticisms or whatever, because at the end of the day, just thinking of the most controversial thing to do continued to make me money for years. So thank you for that, because that's always been in the back of my head. That very sentence.
And see, and that's the thing, it's, you never know what's going to make an impression on people. I didn't think about, trying to inspire anybody or giving people motivation in any way, shape, or form when we put that book together. And that's my whole point with Grateful, is when I started hearing these stories, because once I got to the point where I went, hey, I have a bad attitude about going to indie shows or making personal appearances or autograph sessions. I looked at them just as a chore, and I hated it, but I had to do it because I needed the money.
Can I ask you one question about it? Was it the fact that you just you wasn't sociable, or was it the fact that you didn't want people to see that question why is Eric Bischoff at these shows?
No. It's because I live in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming.
Right.
I have a handful of very close friends that I very rarely talk to on the phone unless it's an emergency. We stay in touch. We'll get together a couple of times a year, but I'm not a social animal. I don't like being in crowds at all. I live where I live. I built this house here in '98, so it's not like this is a new phase for me. I'm a very, not a loner, but kind of. So going to an event and being on and traveling is just like, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. But going to some of those events and then hearing stories from people, hearing their story, hearing them tell me their story about how something that I may not have even remembered, how much it impacted them and why. I mean, I'll start crying if I think about it. Writing the book a couple of times, like, oh man, sorry, guy, give me a second here, And it's the same thing with your story about controversy creates cash. There's a million of those stories out there, and if you don't appreciate that when you get an opportunity that you're affecting people's lives, even though you're not aware of it. If you're not aware of it, you're not aware of how much opportunity you really have.
I'm glad you realized that you mean a lot to a lot of people out there, because you're part of us growing up. It's like we didn't know you, but you felt we knew you from seeing you on TV, and you grow up with somebody. And it's one of those things. That's why I always realized, I said, those wackos that stalk the soap opera people, it's because they see them every day and they think they're real and they're in their lives. And I go, that is kind of true a little bit, but on a little saner level, because you're like, with Vince and all his things, when Vince eventually one day passes away, it's gonna hit. I guarantee me and Billy will be hit with it, because it's like, I've known this guy since I was about 7 years old. I don't know him, but I know him, so it's one of those things where, yeah, you don't realize what you're meaning to people and what you've done. Just if you take just the industry by itself, and what you have done for the entire industry is just beyond.
And obviously my book, thank you for that. And my book is about my journey and realizing that, because I was too caught up in my own shit. I was too caught up in making money. I was doing it for the money and the fame and the prestige and the same reason, people strive to be at the top of any business and be successful. I was no different. But I didn't realize all the other things that came along with it that I was missing. But I think it's true across the board, right? I imagine there's a million stories from wrestling fans who can tell you how WWE had a dramatic impact on a family member in a positive way, or AEW in a positive way, in stories that you would never imagine. But it's true. You do. If you're a talent in AEW or WWE and you get to go out there and perform someday, if you do it long enough, you got to be around for a minute, but you do it long enough, someday you're going to be at an event. You're going to probably go, oh, I wish I wouldn't have agreed to do this. I'd much rather be out hanging with my buddies or playing with my kids or riding my horse, or playing with my dog. But I'm going to do this. And then you're going to hear a story. And that story is going to change your life, hopefully. And it's true across the board. Whether you're a Big Brother, maybe you're a musician, you're a wrestler, an actor, actress, whatever. You got to remember that what you do affects, when you play to the masses, you affect people in ways you don't understand.
Well, we are grateful for you, Eric Bischoff, for being on this show, and we will look for your book on November 11th of this year. And
pre-order now. Pre-order now. You get it autographed, man.
And let me add as well.
I'm doing it myself.
Eric's not just going to be doing the roast. You can actually meet Eric at StarCast next weekend. Eric, I'm going to be coming out there with my son. So
great! It'll be fun to meet you in person.
Yeah, I'm coming down from London for Raw at Madison Square Garden. Then I'm coming over to Nashville for SummerSlam and the Ric Flair match as well. So
it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Around. So thank you, Eric Bischoff, for being with us. We appreciate every minute of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Had a blast.
Thank you, Eric. Cheers.
All right, Billy, we talked at length about the match between Logan Paul and Miz and how it is working with celebrities. And we didn't give any predictions, but we want to be, have everything with our predictions throughout this show with every match. So we're going to give you our predictions. And we also need the odds, but we think it's pretty obvious. Celebrities always win, Billy.
Yeah, we missed that out, but it's good to be completists, and it's good to have every prediction logged here. So Logan Paul is the 1 to 10 favorite, so $10 profit from 100, and Miz is at 5 to 1. So yeah, that's kind of why we didn't get into too much there with Bischoff, and really wanted to just tackle the celebrity element of that. But yeah, Logan Paul, no doubt, across the board.
Yeah. Thanks again, Eric Bischoff, for taking time out of your schedule to help us out with that. Let's go into Lashley and Austin Theory. I refuse to just call him Theory.
You missed your chance to link the two celebrities together. From one celebrity to another was the link that you missed out there. But that's fine. It's
what other link? Who? Where? What?
I still think McAfee's a celebrity. Like, I still feel that he's. You just see him as a WWE guy now. You just see him as a.
Well, do we want to go straight into Pat McAfee then instead?
No. These are the two matches that we have left to do before we bring in our final guest. So yeah, any order is fine.
Okay. So let's go into Lashley and Austin Theory, which hopefully Triple H gives him his name back, because Theory is just bad. It's bad. It's got to be Austin Theory. God forbid there's another Austin in there. It's quite different. But
dude, Triple H never pushed this guy. Vince saw something in him, and he was very much a mid-card player in NXT. So from what I saw on Monday, it kind of looked like he looked like a bit of a dick. Like he looked like a bit of a bum, I felt, for the first time on Monday. That was just my takeaway.
But do you feel this is the curse of the briefcase? If you get it, you're going to be a bitch until you cash in?
But why is Triple H continuing on with that bitch booking of the Money in the Bank briefcase? Like, that's a Vinceism. Like, where, he has he has that feeling where, oh, you're Teflon with these titles. You can lose non-title matches. You can lose 100 times with a briefcase because you're going to be the champion anyway. Everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't agree with that. I like a Money in the Bank guy to be more dangerous with the briefcase, because
sure,
Jesus, this guy's winning already. Imagine what he's going to do when he has an easy opportunity. Not, oh, geez, this guy's a loser. The only way he's going to win the title is by cashing in on someone when they're dead. Like,
yeah,
I don't like that, and I would think Triple H didn't like that either. But I mean, this is the first time on Monday I got the inkling of a failed cash in the future. That's what I felt like.
So I would assume Lashley's winning this because it's the curse of the cash in. And so because he said, I'm going to win that belt, and then I'm going to come and win this belt. And what's funny is they've really not built up that he's going against Lashley at all. Like, they haven't even spoken to each other. It's like they're not around each other. I think they barely went around each other this last week.
I don't
otherwise,
think I agree with Lashley being a stronger favorite than the Usos. Lashley's a straight up 1 to 3 favorite, and Austin Theory is at 5 to 2. So $20 on Theory gets you a £50 profit, and you have to lay 30 down on Lashley just to make 10. So I don't have it like that, but yeah, I still think he'll win.
Yeah. Do you think he will be doing a cash in at the end of this?
No, if he does, I think it'll be a failure that will symbolize the end of Vince McMahon involvement in creative. It'll be like, this your boy, this is your boy, and this is what we've done to your boy because you did this to all my boys. You cut off the balls of Karrion Kross and Ciampa and all these guys that came across, and now this is what I'm going to do to your guy, like your chosen guy. I'm going to cut his balls off, and I'm going to send a message. I mean, I'm really like going deep into the symbolism here and just what ifs, but you can.
That's what Vince did to all the other people. So yeah, it makes sense.
This is what I would do if I was Triple H. Like, I'd be like, you fucking. I built these guys up and gave them characters and stories, and I sent you Keith Lee and Karrion Kross and Adam Cole, and these guys were ready to go straight onto TV and have a spot, and they're all working somewhere else. So, you know, that's he could be petty and do the same thing.
So at the end of this show, after we do Brock and Roman, I'm going to ask you how you would end this and how you would have someone win, but that'll be at the end. We're going to go into another match here, which is before our next guest comes on, but it is a celebrity, according to Billy. Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin, who Billy broke that news. Remember that, Billy? You're the one who told everybody there was a copyright for Happy Corbin. You were the one who told us all about that, and I was like, what the hell could this possibly be?
Let me tell you, Aaron Rodgers, the most famous sportsman on the planet, would not be doing interviews about his vaccine status with somebody that isn't a celebrity. Like, you need to be somebody.
I was wondering where this was going. I'm like, oh yeah, he talks about.
you need to be somebody big to be near Aaron Rodgers.
What's funny about Pat McAfee is he does a good job because he doesn't care. As in, he takes pride in his work, but he's not worried to be fired if he says the wrong thing because he has everything in the world with his podcast and his money. So when you're not worried to go out there and take a chance, because what's going to happen? What are you going to do? Who cares? But these wrestlers who need the job are, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I won't step off script, where Austin always says, Stone Cold says, reach for the brass ring and let's get out there. I think that's why McAfee is good on the microphone, and he says stuff where sometimes you're like, oh, I'm surprised they mentioned that because, God forbid. But he does. He goes out there and says stuff. I did not like what they did on SmackDown prior week. Did you notice when Happy Corbin comes in? It looked great. He pump kicks him out of his chair. He slams his face on the announce table, chucks him into the barrier, and then it's a no-sell. And Pat is just normal and runs after him. He killed the man. And Pat was like, F this, and chased him. So that bothered me. He did sell his
neck at UFC. He wore a neck brace to UFC, which is more than what some of these so-called like more experienced and more seasoned and more clued up guys would do. So,
and meanwhile, that was an attack that wasn't even on TV. It was after the pay-per-view was off, and now he's having to do this.
Right.
So obviously, McAfee, the only loss McAfee has is to Vince McMahon.
In what sense?
The only loss he has, McAfee, right? Or no, he lost to Adam Cole, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost to Adam Cole.
I'm wrong. Okay. So he is 2-2. Is this right then?
Yeah, they also lost the when he was aligned with the British guys that he was in charge of, although he was the leader of that group. I forget the name now. On NXT, they lost the War Games match.
That Emporium and that one?
No, it wasn't Emporium. Emporium was what Walter was in charge of.
Yeah.
No, he was. It was a British guy. It was Pete Dunne and
the Bruisers over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was on this. McAfee is the same as the Usos. He's 2-5, with Happy Corbin at 7-4. I would be happy to parlay McAfee and Usos together for decent odds here.
That's pretty good. I mean, I could see them letting Corbin win because, I mean, Corbin just loses now. He loses to Madcap constantly, which I hope they give him his name back too, by the way, and he could be Riddick. But yeah, I could see this one actually going either way, but it's the celebrity factor, you know. So, are we ready for our final guest, Billy?
Let's bring on our final guest, and then we'll be back to wrap this up.
All right, let's talk about the main event. And to talk about the main event, we have a guy with us. He might know a little bit about main events. I heard one time like he was involved in storylines or something like this one other time. This is from russosbrand.com. That is the head writer from the Attitude Era, Mr. Vince Russo.
Well, I don't know, bro. Am I officially the head writer now? Let's kind of go through this, you guys, a little bit, because, bro, for many decades, Vince was the filter. But now everybody is so glad to see the filter go. Like, so Cav, what is it, bro? Because I've never seen such glee in people that the great filter is now gone to no longer F up the wrestling business. So what is it, Cav?
The filter to me is more of the stopper. If you have a great idea, it's that is the end. It's
You're
no.
right.
And
You're
there's no argument about it. It's Vince is the wife of everyone. No, that's the end. You're moving on.
Yes.
And so I equate it to, I was telling this to Billy, I said, Vince to me is very much a Prince and Michael Jackson, where it was, had a lot of great hits. He was great. He had a lot of good stuff. He's been fighting to find a hit. And you're like, I loved all his old stuff, but the new stuff, not too good.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for it all the time and you're hoping something happens. But I hear Punk saying, oh, do you think he's really not got his hands involved from sitting at home? Which scares the hell out of me to hear. Where I'm like,
bro,
please don't have your hands in it.
He's running he's running
let's
everything, Cav. Yeah, Cav, he's running everything. Listen, bro, I said this weeks ago. When all this shit came down, bro, there was no way he could still be actively working with women. No way, bro. The women on the roster, women in the office. Bro, do you know how awkward that is? If this man is being alleged of all these things, the board has forced him to take a hiatus, and now he calls Liv Morgan and says, Liv, we need to have a meeting in my office. You can't put women in that position. So no doubt, bro, they had to get him out of there. He had to disappear. But if you don't think, bro, every single thing is still not going through him, you're absolutely out of your mind. Vince McMahon is not going to retire. He got out of sight because he had to be out of mind. He's calling everything just like he was when he was there.
So we're having the main event here is going to be Brock versus Roman Reigns. And Billy had some questions about this on what you might think. So what do you think, Billy?
Yeah, so it's one big question. All the guests we've had on the show to preview SummerSlam, we've tried to find a relevant spot for them. So the reason why I picked the main event for you is because the main thing being said about this event is we've seen it so many times. We've seen it since 2015. They always keep pulling it out of the bag. They've headlined WrestleMania with this thing 3 times, and there seems to be a lot of criticism towards it that people don't want to see it. Now, the reason why I thought of you is because you're from an era where between 98 and 99, whether you know this or not, but I know this to be true, you only used 4 guys in every main event between 98 and 99. Then, in the second year between 99 and 2000, I know you left just before 2000, you only added Triple H and The Rock. So you were able to create a fresh product, increase ratings, only using 6 guys in the main event and only 4 guys in the first year from when Austin won the belt to when Austin beat Rocky at WrestleMania 15. Do you think that was the criticism wasn't fired at you because the internet was not as prominent as it is now? Do you give any credence to the fact that the internet is so dominant? Or was it a case of somehow, whether it be Foley Taker or Taker Austin or Kane Undertaker again and again and again, you found a way to make that interesting so people didn't even notice that you were only using 4 guys?
Billy, absolutely B. Absolutely B. And yeah, I mean, Billy, listen, I remember when we did our show together, guys, like there were just some things I did not remember. I remember this vividly, Billy, because, the old school, well, how are we going to have this match if we want to have it at WrestleMania? How are we going to do it at SummerSlam if we want to have it at the Rumble? We used to get that all the time. And we used to tell, whether it be Pritchard or whether it be even Vince or whoever it was, we used to say, we're not worried about that. We'll make that mean something when the time comes, which meant, bro, that no matter how many times we booked Austin and The Rock or The Rock and Triple H or Foley and Austin, we knew that every time we booked it, it would be a different story, different circumstances, different people involved, and it would mean something every single time. The difference, Billy and Cav, is, as you just said, they keep going back to the same well with no story. There's no story. And we always were going to give them a different look if we brought a match back, 1,000%.
The first half of the matches, these two guys, was Roman Reigns chasing as a babyface. The matches they've had in the last 12 months have been Brock Lesnar as a babyface. Do you think that you, as a creator, could have done more with that twist to it and got more matches out of it to the point where there wasn't so much complaints about staleness? Or do you forgive them a little bit by saying that it's mainly this vocal minority, the internet is always going to complain?
I don't forgive them at all, Billy, because I'll tell you, here's the crux of the problem. Here is the main problem. They've not created anybody else. That's the problem. That's 100% on them. When you point out, bro, 99, 2000, Hunter was added to the mix. Mick was added to the mix. At some point, Kane was added to the mix. We continue to make people that we can slide in that main event. They haven't done that, bro. That's really where the failure is. They have not created anybody that you could put in there with a Roman and a Brock and you're going to believe it. That's on them, bro.
But in terms of, aside from creating guys, what do you do with this combination? Like, as I said, like you got a lot of Undertaker Austin matches done, whether it be when there was babyface versus babyface at SummerSlam 98. By the time they wrestled on the pay-per-view where Owen passed away, Undertaker was a heel who won the belt in the Ministry of Darkness. Totally different dynamic. Do you feel that you could have changed the dynamics with these two? Or is it just a case of you would just say you have to create stars? Like, you can't.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two, bro. Could I have created circumstances that were much more interesting to bring more of a draw? Bro, there's no question in my mind that I could have done that. Now, if you ask me what would that have been, I would tell you this, bro, without a shadow of doubt, it would have been reality based. So I would have had to be there to know what was really going on with Reigns at the time, what was really going on in Brock's world, where Vince sat politically, how the boys felt about this guy compared to that guy. I would have to really know the real life elements of what was going on, and I would have taken that and made that part of the storyline somehow, some way.
And the last thing I want to say is that one thing me and you agreed on very early in our relationship, we just accidentally stumbled on agreement here. I feel that Heyman is very, very overrated. Like, I don't feel that he's
crazy.
I don't feel that he's bad. Cav doesn't agree, see.
I think he's the best talker that there's ever been.
Right. That's a different thing. That's a different thing because he has his hands in this story, right? He's involved in the promos. He's involved in why we get to there. He's involved in the route, the A and B. And people are still complaining that we're having this match again. Does this add weight to the theory that this guy is slightly overrated by
listen, Cav, I love you to death, bro. You brought me a Dick Butkus hat for crying out loud. Cav, brother, I've got to so strongly disagree with you, and it's going to play right into what Billy said. Cav, this guy has been cutting the same promo for the last 10 years. Cav, I literally have said, if the WWE really wants to save money with all the budget cuts and whatnot, bro, make an animated Paul Heyman and send him out on the show animated to cut the same promo, because that's all he does anyway, bro. This you talk about a great talker behind Heenan, bro. This guy's been cutting the same exact promo for the last 10 years. It has not changed one iota.
Do you think also it's what he's given, as in these type of guys that he's given?
Bullshit, Cav, because if Paul Heyman doesn't have any stroke by now, he shouldn't be in the freaking business. If Paul Heyman is in a position to say, Vince, Hunter, whoever is running the company this week, I've given this same promo. I mean, Cav, listen, we love baseball, right? You know what an innings eater is. An innings eater is very valuable on any team. He can go out. Bro, that Paul Heyman is a minutes eater. That's all he is. When they got to fill 15 minutes in a first segment, send Paul Heyman out there, bro, because Paul will fill up that time. Bro, that's all he's done over the last 10 years. He has not been an integral part of this angle whatsoever, in my opinion, in my estimation.
I mean, we got the whole thing to where it was whose side is he on. That was very different for a while the last time they were going against each other. But like we've said, they've gone against each other 5,000 times now. And it's hard to...
And they never even paid that off, though, Cav. They never even paid that off. And that's Paul's responsibility to say, wait a minute, man. We were going down this road of whose side was I on. And then I think on Aurora, something out of the blue, he came out again and just put over whoever he was with at the time. They never told or completed that story. He's got to take part responsibility for that, bro.
See, I was thinking the end of that story was more like, love the one you're with who's winning, because he did give the belt to Brock, but it backfired. So, okay, I'll be with this guy. So I thought it was more of just that he was a snake, and it was whoever is winning is what I'll be with. That's where I got from. What do you say, Billy?
Well, you're jaded, Cav.
Yeah, I mean, he made the decision, but because of the COVID situation that Roman had, it happened in the Lashley match instead. So I think that's why it's kind of been forgotten by people, because it happened in a match that was nothing to do with Brock and Roman. It was in the Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar match. But last thing before you go. First of all, before Vince does go, he talks in detail about the Vince McMahon situation and everything that's going on his own podcast, which is russosbrand.com, which is why I didn't want to quiz him on it too much, because you guys should go over there and talk to and listen to a person that's worked for Vince McMahon through the Attitude Era and wrote it. So, I mean, you were there, what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think people should go over there and listen to that. And the last question is just because of the timing. WWE WrestleMania 40 goes back to Philadelphia. The first time in 25 years. The last time they were in Philadelphia for WrestleMania, the nickname of that WrestleMania is Russo-mania. Did you know that?
I did not know that. What's that about?
It's the only WrestleMania that's fully booked by Vince Russo. From 25. It was the last one in Philadelphia.
Wow.
So my question was going to be, when you do a town like Philadelphia, do you book anything for Philadelphia, or do you just stick with your
Nah, bro, you got to be careful, bro. Anytime you're on the East Coast, and I'd say really, Billy, like Philly and New York, like honestly, anytime you're in Philly and New York, bro, you know there can be no bullshit. Like bro, there's always a fine line with being booed out of the building. So you're not going to do anything stupid. You're not going to do anything that you'd give them an opportunity to shit on. because I mean those are the two serious crowds in the country. So absolutely, bro. When we went to Philly and New York, there was a huge difference in the shows.
Did you really not know till today that was called Russomania?
I had no idea.
I never heard of that.
Oh, that's what it's called all through the dirt sheets and online.
Now I got to go back and watch.
Yeah, no idea.
It was Vince was totally in charge, and apparently that is your WrestleMania.
Oh, you made our I got to get you on Castrating the Marks, Billy. Me and Jeff both want you on, but you were mentioned last night, bro. I had to jump to your defense, Billy. Even though Billy Cav did turn his back on me once and it got ugly, but
once.
Cav, are you the witness? Cav, are you witness too? I loved Billy all along through that.
Yep.
Right?
You told me on the phone in
Did
private.
I not have?
You still
Did I
love
not?
him, even when he was going crazy.
Did I not say that? Okay, but bro, I had to jump to your defense yesterday because where does this Sean Ross sap get the gonads, bro, the testicles, the balls? First of all, to call Disco a little bitch. Bro, this guy is in a pimple on Disco Inferno's ass, and then he went to town with you, bro, throwing all these...
I am dying to see...
bro?
I am dying... I know he's here. I'm dying to run into him this week.
Oh my gosh.
You got to make that like your goal, Billy, and like always have your camera on or the audio on. Always record.
He knows that. Billy, no, you don't have to tell Billy that. Bro, I mean, where'd this guy come from that all of a sudden he's cutting promos on you guys?
Yeah, we've been getting under his skin over on the show. Like, so it's like being this, I think this guy like tied together with this shit. And that's the thing, like even when we parted ways with you, some of the messages I was going, it was like, oh, like Billy's. This is why I really got heated, because they were going, oh, Billy's ruining Disco and Vince's friendship now because he's got Disco to leave too. It's like we never even had a conversation about it. Like that never even happened. And and you got, so that's why I said to you last time we were on K100. Like they got a following, and they got the mix between some guys are cool and some guys are just assholes. Like who across the board, it's a big enough podcast where they'll be loyal to Meltzer and Sap, and they'll just listen to K100 to see what we're saying. And they're not, whereas your guys, they're into you, they're into that style of podcasting, they're into your opinions. It's more of a cult. And when you piss that cult off, they come for you big time. And they were coming for me constantly for weeks. And
I kept saying, I mean, Cav, I think you could be witness to this. I kept saying a million times, I got no heat with Billy. There's no heat. We've got no heat. But bro, they want to believe. They want to believe whatever they want to believe. That's really
well. When you guys did the show when I was away too, that like everyone loved it. It was they're back together doing a show. And Vince, believe me, I'm like, they should always do this together. Get me off this show. I go, everyone should write in how horrible I am. Make it Vince and Billy, please.
No, absolutely not, Kev. Come on, bro. You kidding me? Come on.
You guys, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, no, I love doing this show with you guys, man. Anytime, man. I mean, we got to do more Billy and Cav. We definitely got to do more. Cav, you've never, ever been on my platform. I got to bring you over. You got to do something with us, bro.
Yeah, I gotta send you a few things. If you ever listen to my NFL show one of these days, you'll see what I can do.
Well, I just hope you've got a reception in the cabin you're living in or wherever, bro.
That should be okay. I have as strong a Wi-Fi as humanly possible. I gotta send you a picture of my media room. You'll be impressed with the 7 TVs I have mounted on the wall for football season coming. So yeah, I'm ready to go. So where can we find you the best way possible, Vince?
Yeah, guys, always russosbrand.com. Just go to russosbrand.com and you'll be able to get to everything. That's the best way, guys.
Any vindication for you this week where for years people Cornette turned around and went, oh, he's obsessed with Sable. He's obsessed with Sable. Vince was obsessed with Sable. You think now everybody knows it was the wrong Vince?
Yeah, I would. I would hope so, bro. I would hope people would understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
well, thanks for joining us, Vince. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to doing some more stuff with you in the future.
Yes, definitely, guys. And thanks for having me, man. And Billy, enjoy the bro. Man, you got to run into Ross Sapp, bro. Oh my God, that would be tremendous. But enjoy your time, bro.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, guys.
All right, there was no better man to talk to about a main event than Vince Russo. Thanks for being on. What are the odds for this main event, Billy?
Yes, so Roman Reigns is 1-2 minus 200. You have to bet 200 to win 100, and Brock Lesnar is at 6-4. So you have to put 40 down to win 60, or 100 to win a 150 profit, 250 back altogether. So Brock is the underdog once again, the exact same odds that we got at WrestleMania. Do we see a different result?
I don't think so. I think Roman holds this. I think we're, trying to get to him and The Rock with this, streak going on. How do you end this match if you're in charge?
Well, I hope Brock shows up for starters, because obviously he gets out and come back. We've randomly got Seth Rollins' match cancelled now with Matt Riddle. They did an injury angle. We saw Rollins going up to Roman's face on Monday. I don't want to see Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. I don't want to see any kind of issue with Brock. Whatever his political issue is, whether if he's like, I go, if he goes, I go, whatever, go after this. Just lose to Roman Reigns one more time. As for how it ends, I think if Theory cashes in, he loses. I don't think they do that, though. I think we just go out with the way we've gone out with the last WrestleMania and everything. I think we just go out with Roman winning and lifting his belt up with his Usos and all that. I feel we just keep doing that and beating people over the head with it until Mania. I don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. No one's going to be like, oh my god, it's terrible. The show just finished with Roman winning, beating Brock, and Brock being knocked out for 10, and he's standing there, and hopefully both these guys are bleeding this time because it's a TV 14 whatnot. So yeah, I think if they have a good match and they're bleeding and they go out there and they do 25 minutes and Roman wins, it's absolutely fine to close out like that.
Okay, so I would expect some nonsense for how Brock's got to stay down for 10, burying him under the tables and chairs. We've had other people be tied to the ropes. It's pretty, I don't know if it's a burial because you're losing to the world champion, but to be just straight knocked out for the 10 seconds and that's it. I'm thinking something's got to go down with that. Is there any chance that somebody comes out and says, it's a three-way now with Seth Rollins?
I mean, anything's possible with the new regime, but I just think that I think as much as they want to make a statement here, I think they'll try and make a statement through the pay-per-view having good matches and being something that makes sense. I think everything here will make sense without being overly dramatized. I mean, I'm not out here expecting the Fiend and cash-ins and things of that nature. I think that a good 8 out of 10 wrestling show with common sense results is what we'll see.
All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed our SummerSlam breakdown where we gave you all your betting odds and our opinions. And thanks to our special guests, Disco Inferno, Eric Bischoff, and Vince Russo. Thanks for coming on and helping us out with that today. Stay tuned to this channel, this podcast, this YouTube. You're going to get a lot more from us about betting and a lot of different things. So for Mr. Billy Body, I'm Cav Manning. We'll see you next time.
All right, I'm going to end the note and start a new one.